Ooh, such a tune. I didn't realize I was going to be popping on so soon. Hello, Chicago. This is your host, Kira Macoun, here on Chicago Corner, and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm super excited for the topics for tonight. As always, we get to really get in depth about some of the situations, issues, circumstances that on in Chicago, the greater Chicago area, and then also the state of Illinois and actually surrounding states that impact Illinois because we are not living in a vacuum, as many of us know. Joining me is none other. Whoa, that came out weird. None other than Mr. Ed Heller. Ed, how you doing?
Hey, Kira. Hello, everybody. How's your
Welcome.
Tuesday?
My Tuesday has been it's been a bit of a stressful Tuesday, if I'm being honest. I was mega stressed out, but I told you whenever we get on the show it starts, it's like, all right. I always feel like it's like the click, 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 click up the roller coaster. And
Yeah,
then once you
yeah.
hit the hill, it just doesn't matter anymore. It's like we're in a free fall now. So it's like whatever I got, I got. Whatever I don't got, I don't got. And we're gonna go from here, right? So, and having said that, be sure to share this stream so we get more eyes on us so that we can get that monetization. And so then that way we can really fully indulge ourselves into the show, invest ourselves into it, get out on the street with cameras, all of the things that we have that we're dreaming up over here at Chicago Corner. So be sure to share us far and wide. Of course, always contribute to super chats. All we got right now, Ed, right? Or do we have any other way to contribute to the show financially?
I think we're working on a Patreon. I don't think it's set up yet, but
Truth.
that's something to be looking forward to very soon.
Yep.
And also, we are in the process of getting ourselves onto Rockfin, so that could be another way that you guys will be able to tip us in the future. So that'll be good.
Yes. The multiple things will be helpful, and then that'll help sustain us and do
Yeah.
the work that we enjoy doing, which is bringing you guys some of our favorite selections from the news over the last few days. Jerry might be popping in tonight. Hopefully, he'll make it. He's running a little late from his previous appointment. I don't know what to call it. So he may surprise us, and hopefully, he does get to join the conversation. Make sure to say hello to everybody that's already in the chat. We have Pat who just joined in. Hi, everybody. Sorry I didn't make it on Saturday. Getting a booster and exhausted. Yeah, those boosters are the shots in general just wipe me out. Bummer birthday yesterday. Oh, yeah, bummer birthday yesterday. The Sunday, which we're going to talk about, was a little bonkers. Let's be honest. So the videos are,
Yeah.
if they weren't actually impacting people's lives, and in particular, people's lives that I know personally, then they would be like, whoa, and kind of entertaining. But
Yeah,
it's
I can say
rough.
I can say right now that I am so glad that we did the bar thing on Saturday and not Sunday,
No diggity, right?
because holy cow,
Yeah,
what happened in Chicago on Sunday?
it was crazy. Kathy Powers, Jerry might be in a hot date, but we'll have to inquire when he pops on the show. All right. Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, let's talk a bit about Sunday. This morning, even I got into a session with one of my clients, and she was actually in tears about what had happened on Sunday because basically her whole home was filled with shit water, and she's actually in the midst of construction already. And so it was just kind of a disaster. I want to give everybody who didn't get to experience the flooding and the storms a little bit of an idea of what they look like, Ed. So
Oh,
some of
okay.
the geysers
Yeah.
that were popping up. I guess those manhole covers are like 140 pounds. And so that shit was blasting up into the sky. at that level. People were taking video
Oh yeah,
of it.
actually, I have video of that. Hang on.
Yeah,
a second.
yeah, there's video
me-
of it.
Let me
People, I
share
mean,
that.
not like anything I've ever seen before. So let's take a look here. Yeah, look at that. It's like Old Faithful right there in the middle of our city, our fair city. Indeed. And then there are other incredible videos from here's another one. Flooding itself. Let me see. Let's see here. Let me see. Here we go. So they were blocking people from going like under viaducts and stuff. Cars were getting swamped and just stalling out. I'm glad I wasn't on the road because that is a disaster. Yep. So that's what was going on. Pretty wild.
Here's
I don't know if anybody
one.
in our chat has any stories they want to share.
You're on Snapchat now.
So the guy that's standing across the street, he was in the middle car.
Experience of downpour. I don't know where that video is now. It keeps playing, so I'm going to stop it by doing this. Awesome. Yeah, so
I put this on mute so we can hear us, but yeah, it's these.
Oh, perfect.
Mean, you get realize if you have a car and you see standing water like this, don't drive into it. Very few standard sedans and regular cars can make it through there without completely destroying your engine.
Yeah,
I have personal experience from that. Not on purpose. I used to, let's see, it was many years ago. I was driving the car I still have, although it's on its third engine right now. And one of the reasons why is because the car was detoured into a foot of standing water, which gets right into the engine. And when the water gets in the cylinders, it slams right into the engine block and your engine's gone. That's game over for your engine.
Yeah.
Now,
and my guess is, go ahead.
Well, some of these people have these high up trucks and SUVs, and some of them might be able to roll through. I think there was even video of that somewhere where some of the trucks actually made it through. But typically, cars are not designed to go through water, which I think is a gigantic mistake by the automotive industry. Because right now,
chitty bang bang.
We know the floods are coming, Kira. They should be making amphibious vehicles now. Cars that are
I mean, I think that's a great point. Yes.
And they used to make them back in the 1960s. They had one called the Amphi car. And it literally was like it was just a regular car that was watertight, and so it could actually travel at about 40 knots in water.
That's incredible. I wonder why they would have stopped making that. Maybe it just wasn't profitable.
Well,
I mean,
it probably wasn't profitable for them at the time, but you know, we didn't have the flooding like we have now.
Oy vey. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty rough. Let's here's some of the stories from our chat. Pat says Sunday morning I had to take my sandals off, roll up my pants to wait across the street and get to church. We have Rise Uptown needs towels and blankets. Imagine living in the streets. Yep. There was a car stuck under the viaduct on Devon and Ravenswood. He was too deep in the water. Yeah, my guess is those cars that are pictured there are some of maybe the first people who tried to go through the water, and then everybody else is like, "Fuck that."
Yeah. I mean, you don't. Seriously, if the water's that deep, don't take a chance.
See, I know I would have because I'm that kind of a risk taker, and my car would have been ended. Like if other cars were in there, I would not have. But if there weren't, I'd be like, all right, let's do this. Let's go through it as fast as we can.
Now there actually is a vehicle that is capable of doing what I'm talking about, and it's called the Amphi Cruiser. We're not doing an ad for them. I'm just showing you that this exists. This is like millionaires can spend money and buy this, or militaries can buy this kind of a thing.
Well, good
But
thing
it's
the
basically-
rich people will be safe when
Yeah,
all
it's
of
like
the
a
flooding
super
happens.
SUV, and it can go in water. So I would love to have one of those, but I'd have to win the lottery first.
Yeah, and both Pat and Kathy are bringing up great points about all of the homeless people that are either camped out in maybe Toohey Park or under those viaducts. And what they
but
must
not
be
when it's
dealing with.
flooding.
I mean, all their stuff is
Destroyed,
probably
yeah.
destroyed. And
Unless
so
they managed to get out of there before the super floods came.
yeah, I mean that.
How would they know? I mean, that stuff
I
came
don't know
down
that they
so
would know.
fast.
It did. It was very shocking. And so one thing, that my client this morning that I was talking about had said to me, that I was a little surprised at, and then you actually posted something in our Slack about it, Ed, and so I kind of explored it just a little bit. Was one thing that she told me was that the thing of the street is apparently intentional as a means of water management. So the streets are supposed to be flooding in that kind of a downpour, but not basements, right? And that's what was happening is people's basements were just getting annihilated. Literally, people talked about having geyser streams blasting out of their toilets and hitting their ceilings. So it's pretty disastrous, and it's wrecked a lot of
so
people.
I would say that the Water Reclamation District has some work to do before the next flood type storm heads our way.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at, and including fixing and opening the sewage system just a lot more, actually. The Chicago Sewer Network has an inlet control that intentionally limits the water intake during heavy rainfall so it doesn't overwhelm the wastewater system. In 1972 is when the MWRD adopted the Tunnel and Reservoir Plan, which is called TARP, to help the district comply with state and federal quality standards, including the Clean Water Act in Chicago and 51 suburbs. TARP was designed to protect Lake Michigan from raw.
Looks like
reservoirs where
Kira got locked up for a second here. To protect them from what, Kira?
Oop. Yeah, so it's basically, sorry about that, guys. TARP was designed to protect Lake Michigan from raw sewage pollution, especially during times of heavy rain and flooding, by directing the flow of water in reservoirs where it could rest until treatment facilities had the capacity to treat it. Stormwater pollutants include substances like solids, I mean, just use your imagination, metals, oil, greases, rolled salt. What am I'm talking funny tonight, so just bear with me, everybody. Best management practices commonly employed in Chicago's model projects to treat stormwater include vegetated filtration trenches or basins, detention basins, mechanical filtration and oil grease traps, rooftop gardens, cisterns that capture runoff for gray water use. And then, Ed, you had went to folks on social media saying that they should have released the baffles, which we learned from the stormwater management report in the show notes, that those are structural devices with chambers that separate the oil, grease, and the sediment. So those could have been opened from what.
Yeah, I think there was an article that somebody had posted about that. Oh, wait, hold on. Well, here I am.
I love you, Ed.
Hello, Jerry. What is up?
I just overheard you guys talking about the baffles as I scrambled to get in the show. And I think I said in our Slack last week, I'm predicting that somebody at Water Management may not have done their job as far as how the north side was really, really impacted with this crazy, like, water spouts all over the north side of the city. So it's interesting that information came out, Ed, because my instinct, as cynical as I am, is like, oh, there's going to be a cover-up. Somebody didn't do their job. And a
Well,
lot of people are suffering because of that now with all that water damage because of some infrastructural issues that maybe could have been some infrastructure negligence that maybe could have been prevented. I'm sure we're going to hear more, but since I'm just joining in, finish what you're saying because I want to learn more as this is developing.
Well, interesting that you mentioned the water spouts, Jerry, and so I'm going to bring this article back up here. From Block Club Chicago, this is what caused Chicago's urban geysers during Sunday's storm. And it turns out that was not related directly to the other failures, the flooding failures and stuff. It just happened to be, well, let's see if we get there.
A weird phenomenon.
It says plumbers and city officials said the geyser-like effects were caused by an unusual convergence of water and air that created pressure at sewer junctions during the heavy rainstorm. And during the heavy rainstorms, a high volume of water enters the sewer system in a short amount of time. The water flowing downhill often merges at a junction or an intersection of sewer pipes so fast that it can combine with trapped air pressure manholes. Manholes generally cover junctions or service stations. So that makes sense. And yeah, those are not related. Thank you, Ed, for bringing that in because I totally stopped reading what I was putting out.
Well, we had gone to the videos because those were interesting. And then I was oh wait, we had an article about this. So it was like they were talking about how extreme rainfall that occurred Sunday can happen so fast that air gets trapped in the sewers. The buildup produces enormous pressure, which can be strong enough to blast off sewer manhole covers. That's a lot of pressure.
They say it's a rare phenomenon, but in all of our years in Chicago, I don't ever recall this type of a phenomenon happening before as it relates to what they're describing here. So, the hinky conspiracy theory.
Rainfall that heavy before.
Of course we have.
So that's why I was so surprised at what an issue it all became because, I think the whole baffles and using the street to like trickle the water in slower.
Hinky. What does that mean? It's hinky.
What kind of screwed the people?
Won't you say strange or weird? Hinky, that has no meaning.
We had your video glitch out there for a second, Kira.
Yeah, so I jumped in with a little insert because it is hinky.
That
was my point. Thank you.
and I think the other thing that people were probably wondering was it burst pipes that contributed to this, and they're saying no because they say water mains don't explode like that.
Kathy, so do I.
Blame the mayor.
Kathy.
Well, may as well. We blame her for everything else.
Welcome to the party, pal.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
She blamed.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
It's like every time that clip comes up, I lose it. Like I think it's the funniest thing. This is a great video here. Ed, is that you? Yeah, do that. Show that one.
While you're showing that, I want to share. For the first time in my life, we had water backed up on my basement. Luckily, it wasn't really heavy. It was maybe an inch, and it was just where our drains were, so it kind of came up, and it went down. And luckily, it wasn't sewage water either. But I was just like, this has never happened in my building. I can't even remember hearing about flooding when my grandmother owned this building, like from the 1960s, end of late 60s forward. So definitely a rare phenomenon.
Here's the other thing is my basement always floods. And my basement flooded about as much as it does. It's not the worst my basement's ever flooded. And so, while I was like, wow, look at all the rain, right? Sorry, guys.
And the other thing is, Ed said that he lives near the river, and so he's kind of like on. So for you to be that close to the river, and I know that you've also got like
I live halfway underground.
Yeah, you're like in a garden level condo, right?
Those were and the condos and apartments that were getting screwed, basically
on the north side, but not where Ed is near the river, which is ironic because it's like if you're that close to the river and it's backing up, I think that this was a really north side phenomenon that's linked to something we don't know about yet. So.
Yeah, I technically live in what they call 100-year floodplain, although it looks like those types of floods are going to be more and more often. Maybe we'll start calling them the 10-year floodplains.
Yeah.
So, like I said before Jerry came on, we need amphibious vehicles, Kira. The
No, that-
auto
I-
industry is really dropping the ball right now. There's was it the Netherlands? I think it was. They're making that thing called the Amphi Cruiser, but it's basically for millionaires because who the hell can afford that thing? But literally there's like one car in mass production for doing what we need cars to basically do now, and that's make it through floodwaters and possibly turn into a boat.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. They just got to go back to 19 whatever that movie was made in and watch, take some notes, sing a song, and it'll happen.
Or get us those hover cars they keep promising.
Yes.
We're what, 7 years late on that now, Jerry?
Pretty much. Great Scott! We're late on the hover cars, Marty.
Promise hover cars.
They did.
This is heavy, Doc.
Look up gullible in the dictionary, and my face is right there. All right. Awesome. All right, guys. So, because one of my very close friends really was heavily impacted by all of this, and it really sucks for anybody that was impacted by this. Even if you got your car, how terrifying is that, right? And all that water, like, no thanks. That alone would just freak me out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully people are getting taken care of, and this might be something that needs a follow-up because there's some work that needs to be done, at least, a plan to allow that to not happen again. Because if those sewage lids are 140 pounds, imagine that blasting off and just nailing.
I'm surprised when I read that. I'm like, it's like something out of a disaster movie. And that nobody got hit, or that it didn't. Well, I don't know if it landed on anybody's vehicles nearby and caused what kind of damage it may have caused. But I read that there were some people who literally witnessed manhole covers popping up. I don't know how high they went, but
yeah, there was one
last
picture.
Video actually had them popping
up. Oh, did it?
Yep. Yeah, it did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. And
I
there
was too busy yapping my mouth.
But yeah.
There was one picture with the whole outline of the manhole actually eroded up out of the ground.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see where the seal was pushed up from the lawn.
And understand, yes, it did blow up people's toilets. People were reporting that there were.
Yes!
Some people said that sewage water was like flying out of their toilets. Like,
no, that's what was happening to my friend. Yeah, that's what was happening.
Oh my God, I missed
friend.
that part. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She said she had shit water just over her feet, and she and her neighbor shot vacked it up. Yeah, shot vacking. That's what I was showing. Shot vacking.
Yeah, that's.
This is such a crock of shit.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. And I asked her actually if she wanted to say anything for the show, my friend Danielle. And she said, all I can say is that I'm heartbroken. There's nothing we did wrong and nothing we could have done.
Yeah.
That didn't cost a fortune to prevent it. And it wasn't solely our choice to prevent it.
What neighborhood was she in? Up north here?
She's in Rogers Park.
Whoa. Okay. Sorry. Danielle, is it?
Danielle. Yeah. And she even said that, it was pretty severe that Maria Haddon, their alderman, came out and was visiting all the properties and looking around and assessing all of the damage. So
yeah, flood damage is no fun. It's never fun to have that happen to your house.
My family lives up in Wilmette still, and we used to have regular flooding up there till my parents finally put in one of those big drainage systems underneath the front yard. They literally had a construction company. We never have flooding down there. But as someone who's grown up with flooding and seen all that kind of damage, it is heartbreaking. And again, I'm hoping some investigative journalists with more resources than we have might be able to see if there's more to this than we're being told right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I'm
we'll have
very
to keep
curious.
an eye on sources like Block Club. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'll keep
they like to
talking
cover
to-
this kind of stuff.
I'll keep talking to Danielle too and see what kind of work they're putting in. And then I wanted to highlight this, but I wanted Jerry to finish not that one. Although good reason to leave us. No, this Ilhanar saying new game for this is avoid the exploding.
I think we should integrate that with NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think Lori won't mind as long as she gets to say, "Gentlemen, start your engines." I don't think she'll
Gentlemen,
care.
stroke your dicks.
That's not what I said.
I know it's not what you said, but you know what a bad boy I am.
You're naughty. You're naughty. And I'll fucking do it again. I love it. All right, moving on.
Ah, yes, Kathy. We are saying Block Club likes to cover shit. Touche.
Love that.
Hey,
love
I don't know if
that one.
you caught any of the Heartlands Media show today. Right at the end of the show, one of the live chat viewers recommended that Kit and I start doing co-hosting together as the News Brothers, and I'm like, that's brilliant.
Oh.
We got to do that sometime. We'll wear our glasses and our hats
I
and do a
think that's a
newscast.
great idea. And I'll
With the
dress
news
as a nun and
Yeah, slap us every time we swear. That'd be perfect. You'll just be standing back between us, right?
100%.
And you'll have your ruler, and you'll be it'd be me, Kit. You're right here, and every time we swear, you've got your little ruler. You go.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
I could do that. I could do that.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, it would hurt me more than it would hurt you guys, but I'm totally down.
By the way, I had your friend Tazima in the studio tonight on Can TV. We did what a great. I think this is my favorite Can TV interview, and I can't wait till it goes on Can TV so that we can then put it on YouTube. But she's a delight, and I was like, what? I went in a little bit apprehensive because I'm not repressed, but I'm certainly like I try to be a good boy. When I'm not being a bad boy, as far as like being respectful. But there's nothing to feel guilty or shameful about when you're talking honestly about sex coaching and how it relates to society and everything else. I was able, I think, to I don't know, carry on the conversation you started with her here, and I hope we have her on again. I don't want to take us off into a detour, but just as we were talking about stuff that happened today, I'm really glad that you introduced us because I think we had a great Can TV episode tonight.
She's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that she's getting platformed basically because I'm actually in one of her courses now. After she interviewed here, I was like, girl, I got to get in your course now, and it's really, really great, and it's just really neat to see like how we've been like socially.
It's refreshing to finally be able to open up in what is we are a very hyper sexualized culture with a very repressive society. Clashing all the time. When I say society, just governmental structure, the norms we're all supposed to follow, while everywhere you look, sex, and entertainment everywhere else. And there's no like healthy bridge between the two. It's either you got to be repressed and feel guilt or shame, or you're out of control. So you have to, which leads to the whole, you have to be abstinent. It's like, no, people can, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I digress.
The
To see
Puritans
it,
really
like, you're
screwed us
actually-
up, Jerry.
Yeah. It did. It really did. And it screwed up both men and women. I mean, really got fucked in all of it.
Yeah, but men are responsible for a lot more. And that's, I shared with her. Luckily, I was brought up well, and I have two sisters, and I have obviously, I've got a lot of respect for women. I have a very strong mother. That said, as I've looked throughout the years of like how society has treated women, I mean, even as I brought up this point, I'm sorry to like completely go off on a tangent, but I said,
Damn it, Jerry.
damn, here we go again. I was watching this show on cable about Secrets of Playboy, right? All the horrible shit that happened there, but it's like back in the 70s in the mansion and stuff. Back in the 70s and the 80s, as I was observing that as a young man, I'm just like, even then, I'm like, there's something not right here. This is not, I mean, I guess growing up, learning to respect women and being brought up right, that society kind of like turned a blind eye to what was clearly going on in the Hefner world. That's finally, been blown open as far as like looking at the horrible abuses and everything else and how that man and other men in power have taken advantage of their stature to with the power games with sex and women and everything. was kind of woven into our conversation tonight. But anyway, let's wait for the Can TV episode when it comes to
Yeah.
YouTube,
Don't
and
give
you'll
it all
enjoy
away.
Yeah.
No spoilers here, but yeah, I can't wait to watch that episode because it sounds like you guys had a really great conversation. And Jean says, yes, I agree. And we have shame around bodily functions too, as well as body parts. And that's one of the things Tazima talks about, is like not even being able to name body parts.
Yeah.
Or name them appropriately.
Well, here we have all of our politicians dictating women's choice and how to control their bodies, yet they can't bring themselves to say the word vagina. Even I was just like a little shy about saying it. It's like, because they're so repressed, but they're not repressed to tell a woman what to do with their body after a guy has his pleasure with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll come to that word. It's just, we're such a fucked up culture that way.
Yeah. And, we get to start shifting that through these conversations. And that's what's so beautiful about what we do in this space and over in Can TV. So yay, I'm glad that you took that interview. I'm glad that you guys connected. Cool. So now we're actually going to talk about something that is a little more near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to start by being a little bit, a lot bit transparent on this story. I am part of an organization that lobbied for the Pretrial Fairness Act to pass. And we were one of the driving forces in maintaining the people in the primaries that just passed recently, who passed that and also passed the Clean Energy Jobs Act. So just understand the lens that I look through inside of this story has that skew. All right. So having said all that, we've been recently hearing or seeing, you guys talked about on Friday's show, I think it was, the newspaper mailer that went out. That was
yellow journalism to support Darren Bailey, courtesy of that right-wing scumbag, I forgot his name, who's been funding and financing the Republican attempt to regain power in the downstate in the governor's office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and one of the things that it was very much fear-mongering, and I've actually heard a lot of fear-mongering in regards to is, pardon me, I'm drinking soda water, the Pretrial Fairness Act. And so
they're dog whistling to all the affluent white neighborhoods and communities that the black people are going to come after them.
They're coming to the suburbs, basically. I mean, that newspaper was.
I know.
It was pretty. It was a rough read. Yeah. So I just wanted to cover a little bit of what the Pretrial Fairness Act basically does, but more so, I wanted to talk about like what being held before trial like looks like generally, just an overview of how it impacts people, and what we could do instead.
Quick question.
Yes.
After you present this story, actually, Kit and I talked about this on Hard Lens Media, and we had a video from a public defender that went into it also. I don't know if you have that video because I didn't get a chance to look at the notes, but after you've shared this,
I don't have a
when
video
you're done, I'll find the video so we can put it at the tail end of your.
That would be great. That would be awesome. I'd love to see it. So we all know that the United States is notorious for having the highest incarceration rates in the world. We have 810 federal, state, and local prisoners for every 100,000 adults, according to a recent Pew study. And one big reason it's so high is that the U.S. also has by far the largest population of defendants who can't make bail and are waiting for their trial while in jail, even though they haven't yet been convicted of anything. In fact, 2/3 of the jail population and 1/4 of the total incarcerated population consist of pretrial detainees. The heavy reliance on cash bail, which is basically a bond that allows you to go free before your trial and then gets returned when you show up, is almost unheard of outside of the United States. Most other countries rely instead on various forms of community supervision and monitoring. And Jersey does that quite a bit. And I didn't get into the details of New Jersey inside of my report here, but if you want to look at examples of states that have an example of a state that has done bail reform, because I go in a little bit into New York in this report too, where it's really working well. New Jersey is a great example of that. Research shows that legal outcomes for people who are detained pre-trial are considerably more negative than those who are released pre-trial, even controlling for things like the type of charge and other characteristics. One of the biggest reasons is that the vast majority of these defendants take a plea bargain rather than going to trial because they want to get the hell out of jail. It's a terrible place to be. It's chaotic, stressful, incredibly boring, sometimes violent, and sometimes has bad medical care. And of course, staying in jail means they risk losing employment and housing, not to mention the relationship strain of not being available for childcare and other obligations they have in the community. But then when they do a plea bargain, people who are locked up tend to get longer prison sentences in their plea bargain than those who aren't because they posted bail, which does not seem right. First off, there's always going to be bail. So when we're talking about alternatives, bail is still something that's going to be available as an option for a judge. If we just think of it as a mechanism for getting people out pre-trial, the choice is between cash bail and some alternative system. Defendants might be put on electronic monitoring, for example. Community organizations get involved to make sure the defendants go to court. And some states have pretrial service agencies that supervise people on release, like probation. The agency will make sure that people look for work and they attend programs or treatments and anger management, anything that they need and that they wouldn't be doing while they're in jail. Some states have the 10% system where a judge sets the bail and the defendant deposits 10%. And then if they don't go to the court, then they owe the rest of it. And then Illinois has actually implemented many of these same procedural reforms, but went even further and completely got rid of cash bail altogether, which is the first country to do that. So we would be holding people who the judge sees as a violent offender, and we would be allowing people who are non-violent offenders to, go and take care of their lives while they await their trial. So what does that look like? I mean, how does it compare? So between states that, comparisons between states find that cash bail is not any more effective than non-cash bail systems at getting defendants to show up for court. All of the charts and research studies are all in our description and in our description notes. You should check them out. They're pretty incredible. Most people just want to get their case over with, so the rates of turning up are very high. Upwards of 90%. And pretrial crime isn't any higher in New Jersey than in the have fully cash bail systems. They were one of the first states to start instating bail reform. And arguably, some argument that cash bail can be harmful to the public safety, since it means that people's ability to get out of jail ultimately depends on their financial situation. And one more thing before I open it up to y'all, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've heard through the grapevine for other bail reform that didn't work, because I do want to cover that side of things. But one more thing when it comes to Illinois and the Pretrial Fairness Act that I really want to highlight is that anyone who is blaming the Pretrial Fairness Act right now for the rise in crime is full of shit, because it doesn't go into effect until 2023. Okay, so the Pretrial Fairness Act hasn't been into effect yet. And so anybody saying that it's causing the rise in crime is lying to you. All right, I didn't get to see what Illinois put up. Let's have our French Revolution in America. I think it's about time the billionaires knows what it's like to live in fear.
What it's like to live in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And this,
well, Pat, that's a great point too. People, inside of those studies, they seem skewed also. And I said, well, that doesn't seem fair. But Pat makes a great point. People who post bail are better off and higher class. They're treated better. And they probably have lawyers to help them with their situation, because that was something I didn't even bring up. What's up, Jerry?
Well, I have that video that relates to the yellow journalism of those newspapers by Olayemi Olorin that was shared on TikTok regarding the purge law in Chicago. So I just want to I have it queued up whenever you want me to share it, because it directly relates to what we're talking about.
Why don't we go ahead and watch it right now?
You got it, babe. Here we go. Play.
Listen to me. It cannot be understated how significant of a role the media plays in quashing progressive movements and keeping more Black people in jail. It's frustrating because every time we say the criminal system isn't broken, it's working as intended, these are the outlets and institutions that respond, no, we still need to have faith in the system. We need reform, we need reform, we need reform. But then every time we actually get substantive progressive reform, here they go with campaigns like this filled with lies. And please trust that it's not a coincidence that they're going to places like the Shade Room and Baller Alert with Black audiences to peddle these lies, because what they want is for Black people to internalize propaganda and lies so that we don't support progressive initiatives that are designed to keep us out of jail. So I'm going to dispel these myths about the purge law, because there is no purge law. All there is a concerted effort by media, right-wing Republicans, and neoliberals to keep Black people in jail.
I'm glad she mentioned the neoliberals too.
Rikers is infamous. But less people realize that Rikers is a pre-trial detention center, meaning the people incarcerated at Rikers have not been convicted of a crime. Last year, 16 people died in Rikers. This year, 13 people died in Rikers, and Rikers has already been declared a human rights crisis. So what if I told you that the crisis happening at Cook County Jail was worse? Cook County Jail is the pre-trial detention center in Chicago, Illinois, meaning the people incarcerated at Cook County Jail have not been convicted of a crime. They simply just don't have the money for bail. And that's an important point people need to understand about bail. Bail is not about public safety. Bail is about whether or not you can afford your freedom, period. I am a public defender who represents people that are incarcerated at Rikers, where people are killed, people are beaten, people are sexually assaulted, people spend years of their life. And I'm telling you.
She hasn't been to Cook County Jail or Holman Square.
Yeah.
Find out that there are people sitting in Cook County Jail waiting on a trial for 4 years, 8 years, even 11 years. So let me tell you about what the Chicago Public Safety Act would do. The first lie being circulated is that this bail reform will prevent police from being able to make arrests. False.
Nope.
Not only police arrest whoever they want, like they've always been able to. All the bail reform law does is encourage them not to make completely low-level arrests that they could write tickets for.
Gamer and Ganja for Life. Yeah, we did on HLM. I didn't realize Kira was going to cover it tonight, and it's completely related. So,
you want to know what else? You want to know what else? A law enforcement agency proposed that language. The Public Safety Act would take low-level crimes, low-level misdemeanors, non-violent crimes, and instead of those being bail eligible, where you sit in jail because you don't have the money, you fight your case from the outside, because now judges cannot set bail and keep you incarcerated for something they probably otherwise would not have been able to. What this Public Safety Act would do is it would get rid of the cash bail system. It doesn't mean that nobody goes to jail pre-trial. It means that instead of whether or not you're free or you're in jail being determined based on how much money you have, instead, prosecutors would have 3 different options that they could keep you detained should they so choose.
And this also has to do with the judges looking at the circumstances and being able to determine, yeah, this is a violent offender. This is somebody we need to keep in here, as opposed to nonviolent petty crime offenders that are stuck for God knows how long because they don't have bail.
Prosecutors will have an option to present evidence to the judge showing that you are a threat to public safety, or that you have engaged in some kind of willful flight from prosecution, or if you're simply charged with most felonies, and they can have you detained pre-trial. The reality is that the vast majority of people in our criminal system are living well beneath the poverty line. They're represented by public defenders because they cannot afford representation, which is a fact. The court, the same court that will then place high bail on them, they know they can't afford it. So it's a tactic by which we put poor people in jail for things we probably couldn't prove at trial. They'll probably never have a trial. It's a way to coerce them into plea deals. But it is not about public safety, because at the end of the day, if you have the money, you can buy your freedom.
It's got about another minute left, but I think you get the gist and how it relates.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just a kind of a personal anecdote. Before the uprising back in the summer of 2020, right before that all happened, I had hooked up with a woman who had been protesting outside of Cook County because her husband, who was being held pre-trial, had died from COVID. So, I mean, again, like, these are real people. And she is still on a just complete mission to, make this happen. Obviously pretrial fairness was a huge win for her and her purposes, but she just keeps going. Her name's Cassandra Greer. So if you ever want to join that sort of a push in Chicago, you can check her out. She's amazing. So, and then, you know, some other things, just because, you know, it's funny because we hear a lot, we just hear a lot of stuff, right? Like those mailers went out, they were, you know, they were kind of obvious, you know, propaganda, but we do hear a lot of stuff about this, you know, this is what's going to be causing a spike in crime, or this is what is causing a spike in crime. So I had asked Ed, I was like, I thought I had heard something like a few folks in California saying that like they had some sort of like bail reform or whatever, and it was causing some kind of issues with violent offenders being released and blah, blah, blah. And I actually looked it up and they're still working on it. There's actually nothing that was passed in the world of bail reform, even though I
am
had
not shocked there at all.
Heard through the grapevine that was one of the reasons was bail reform. And so that was kind of, I had to chuckle to myself. And then I was like, well, what about New York? Because I'm hearing the same stories there. And in New York, by the time the 2019 changes went into effect, New York City had already seen a marked decline in the use of cash bail. It was about by 32% of a decrease in the use of cash bail between 1987 and 2020. And actually their crime plummeted during that period of time, even though cash bail, setting cash bail was down by 32%. And so then in 2019, they did their bail reform. And as we know, come 2020, we had some of the biggest crime waves we've seen in a while throughout the entire country. So Dr. Marie von Nostrand, a scholar of criminal justice systems who studied New York City's data, said that she had seen an increase in offenses among people who had been released to await trial after being charged with violent felonies, she said. So she actually said that after that law went through, she did witness people with violent felonies being released. And so there is that piece. Data from the Criminal Justice Agency shows that the number of people who are facing violent felony charges were released to await trial and then were charged with committing new violent felonies, Jesus Christ, has risen to 320 in the first quarter of 2021 compared to 259 in 2020 and 160 in 2019. So almost an increase of 100 a year later, 19 to 2020, and then another, 80, 2020 to 2021. And many law enforcement officials have tied the release of such defendants to recent uptick in shootings and killings across the state. But Dr. von Nostrand said that the violent crime was increasing across the city, and those increases were not were too substantial for those smaller numbers. So she doesn't think that it's that it is directly related to their bail reform system, but those, I just wanted to bring in some of the things that I'd been hearing and that many people might have been hearing, because everybody is tying bail reform to a rise in violent crime, and it's not proven to be true at all.
Are you saying
this is such a crock of shit?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Gene says, well, that's easy to solve. Just don't release violent offenders.
Yeah,
Genius. Right. All right.
One thing to add about California's situation. In March of 2021, the California Supreme Court held that detaining someone pretrial simply because they cannot afford bail violates due process and equal protection clauses.
Ooh, okay.
And they says, while not ending cash bail, the court did hold that if, after considering the myriad of other options available to the court to ensure public safety and the defendant's appearance in court, cash bail is found to be the only option, an inquiry must be made into the defendant's ability to pay. So it's something.
It is something. Okay.
It's not an actual legal law measure that ends cash bail in California.
Okay, great. And I'm glad that you clarified that, because I had been very confused as to what people were referring to, because most of what I was hearing was somewhat anecdotal, versus statistical, more abstract. And so I was like, maybe, I mean, there's probably something to those stories, right? But the numbers just don't bear out that way. And so I think that this will be better for people who are impacted, obviously, by this, because people are being held for years, you guys, years, because they don't have bail. And especially now when the courts are so backed up, it's just not okay to keep people from their families and their livelihood that long.
Yeah. And the short version is, you know, you end cash bail. What does that do? It just makes the judge's decision or their job a little bit harder, because they actually have to really make a decision on whether this person is a risk.
And as I said on the Hardlands Media Show, people don't realize the power they have selecting their judges, because they go into the ballot booth and they see all these names they don't recognize, when there are websites like what's that one? Girl, You Go. Do you remember? Girl, I Guess, that gives you a good overview of who's who, what their record's been like, so you can judge for yourself before going into I don't want this guy retained, because these are the judges that are part of the problem, that aren't doing their jobs because they're too fucking lazy. Mm-hmm. So this is something that is related to good judicial conduct as well, which is unfortunately a lot of people don't realize.
Wow, I'm just now reading Ilhanor's story about serving jury duty.
Yeah,
and it being long and tedious. Yeah, okay. I saw you popping things up, but I wasn't reading them, so I'm just catching up with the chat right quick.
Well, we can continue it.
Yeah, and me and the other jurors jumped down the guy's throat and told him that if he wanted to be behind the fence table, he changed his view real quick about somebody just wanting to get out of, let's just let this end.
If you're on the jury, you're on the jury. If you're in the selection process, that's when you pull the George Carlin quote out and say, I can find guilty people just like that. Dismissed. Go home.
All right. So that is a little update on that. And just so that everybody's clear on what that does, and the fact that it hasn't even come into effect yet, which makes me kind of chuckle that is the reasoning people are giving for the uptick in crime presently. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this.
And honestly, I'm sorry, Kira, I just
no problem. Go for it.
This. I personally believe that 25% of crime is caused by potholes.
Yeah, I think get
out.
I think we could probably prove that. So maybe in some sort of ripple effect, right? You hit a pothole and then you're just like pissed, and then you get into some kerfuffle, and then that person gets pissed, and then they actually end up harming somebody, right?
Yeah, so it's like the butterfly effect. It's the pothole effect.
The pothole effect, exactly. The pothole effect is what is actually creating the increase in crime. Let's get it straight, you guys. Okay?
That's right.
We talk about the news here. All right. So next up, let's talk about the possible rail strike.
Yes. We could talk about that.
I have a video, but I think that you, Ed, found a video that was
I got one that's pretty succinct. Yes.
Perfect.
Let's throw that one up from
up.
TBS 2 Chicago.
Potholes is where you buy pot.
Think about this. 30% of every item transported in this country is shipped by train. And come Friday, those trains carrying everything from the food on our tables to this year's Halloween costumes could stop dead in their tracks. Unions representing freight railroad workers and the major train lines can't agree on a contract. Medical time off is the sticking point. CBS 2's Chris Tide tells us commuters and consumers would feel it first.
Metra is warning commuters that if that strike happens on Friday, the majority of their trains won't run because the trains operate on lines operated by that union. And so as commuters prepare for backup plans in case that happens, a number of industries feel backed up, worrying what might be next.
1 in every 4 items shipped by rail in this country comes through Chicago. If the system all but shuts down Friday, it will be eerily quiet at this Melrose Park Union Pacific rail yard.
A national rail strike would take the supply chain challenges of the pandemic era to a whole new level.
First to feel it, farmers trying to ship fruits and vegetables this harvest season. chlorine shortages to keep tap water clean would be next. Later, car shipments would feel the pinch, an industry just catching up from the pandemic and chip shortages.
A day or two, as we said, it's not something that we're going to feel that much. But if we start talking about a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, it's going to be really serious.
The last rail strike was 1992. Congress can step in, but Senator Dick Durbin says that's not the way to solve this.
I don't believe that's a good idea. I believe that the unions, as well as the railroads, should step up to the plate and get this done quickly.
If it doesn't get done, store shelves could get sparse once again, and prices would. And if it goes on too long, workers in other sectors could be idled.
Talking about factory shutdowns. And so this is not just going to have an inconvenience for consumers. At some point, we start to quickly see the trickle down and other people losing their jobs because of this national rail strike.
Today, Amtrak scrapped 3 lines out of Union Station to the West Coast because if the strike happens Friday, those commuters would be mid-trip when the strike began. Another 3 routes to or from Chicago are being suspended starting tomorrow. When we asked our experts what's the likelihood of this strike happening, they said between 10 and 20%. In the South Loop, Chris Ty, CBS.
Okay. Well, that's not that high of a percentage, I suppose.
Yeah, I think they're underestimating that. I think they're trying to be positive here. You could definitely pick up this whole slant toward trying to blame the strikers or the railroad workers instead of the employers of the railroads. Just give the workers what they need.
Yeah.
You know,
why would the billionaires running these companies do that, Ed?
Because they don't want their entire business shut down.
They'll blame the workers, though. What they're going to do, inevitably, they're going to blame the workers. Yeah.
Well, they're going to blame the workers, but if the workers got a good mutual aid network set up, and they have a nice sounding board like some of the independent media channels that we know and love, perhaps we can communicate what's actually going on. In that corporations are screwing the little guy again.
No, come on. Are you serious?
So most of what they're striking over is like personal time. They are asking time off. Yeah, they are asking for a pretty substantial wage raise, but like I also think like if you're going to the negotiating table, you know, that's what you do.
What they should do while they basically got the entire supply chain hostage here is they should demand national health care. That's what I think they should do.
That's
a great idea.
A great idea, Ed. That is a fucking great idea.
I have them from time to time.
Every now and again. So, you know, for those people in our audience that are concerned about the corporations and how they will fare if they are to, you know, give the workers what they need. You know, a dozen unions are representing the workers of these national railroads like BNSF, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, and CSX, among others. So how much did Union Pacific make in 2021? They profited $6.5 billion in 2021. Let's see. How about BNSF? They had a net income of $6 billion, up 16% from the year before. And Union Pacific with that $6.5 billion, that was the most profitable year they've ever had. And how much did CSX make last year? In the fiscal year 2021, CSX Transportation generated over $12.5 billion in U.S. revenue. So that's the revenue, which I didn't realize I didn't get the comparable amount.
How much did you say, Kira?
$12.5 billion in revenue. And I think that their operating was at about 60%, their operating costs. So I'm guessing they were in the $5 billion-ish area.
$5 billion
for revenue.
That's a lot of money.
And then Norfolk, little old Norfolk, who made the least, their net income was only $4.4 billion. So I don't know how they're going to afford making sure their workers have appropriate time off. You know, they're not losing their jobs from going to, you know, funerals, which was some of the some of the stories being sick was some of the stories that I had heard. And then also making a thriving wage. I think they're asking for up to $160,000 for some of the workers, which they haven't gone on strike since 1992. $160,000 is a thriving wage. And I think that's a good starting point personally.
I like this idea.
They should seize the train system and make it public property. The revenue would go to the community.
Yeah. Yep.
To nationalize the train system, eh?
Yes!
And oopsie doopsie. Pat brings in an angle that I didn't even go for, right? The billionaires don't make their money on their business. They make it on the Ponzi stock market supported by stock buybacks.
That's
right.
right.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Pat, for your contribution.
Yeah, we won't talk stock market this evening. Otherwise, Jerry and I'll add an hour to the show, and we can't let Kira do that.
You don't want Kira to miss her bedtime.
You guys went to bed last night at 9:50.
You know, Kira, I find myself going to bed earlier when I don't have to stay up to do a show, which is surprising because I used to be like a major night owl. And I can't keep up with that anymore as much as I think I can. So I get it.
Yeah, I was a night owl, but I'm also a morning person. So then sometimes I would stay out partying until like 3 or 4 in the morning, but I'd be awake by 7, no later than I can't sleep like past 7, maybe 7:30. But so I've missed out on a lot of sleep in my life. But yesterday I also ran 16 miles. And so I think that that was a little piece of it. But Sunday night, I also went to bed at 9:30, so I'm just an old lady, I think.
I would not be surprised if Bezos or Musk are working on unmanned freight trains.
Oh, no, they definitely. 100%. Yeah. Okay, cool.
But
Guys,
even if they are, they still need maintenance. You know, you can't take the human out of every aspect of everything. You haven't been following
the robot videos from Boston Dynamics.
I mean, yeah, sure, go watch the Wall-E movie and think that everybody like got automated to the point where all the automated robots just kept piling all the trash into giant mountains, and then they flew away in a spaceship to save the humans. That's not happening like in the next couple years. That's gonna take a while.
Sorry, Ilhanar.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this shit's real. I mean, it's really what we do, the policies in this country, and what we do as a society impacts people massively and impacts society as a result. It's a ripple effect. Okie dokie. So this story I didn't have, this next story I didn't have a ton on because there's not really much to talk about other than just the novelty, which is the police impersonator story.
I didn't see this. Whoa. Sounds fun. Sounds juicy.
It's so juicy, yeah. So let me see if this one had a long ass commercial in front of it. So, okay, well, why don't I just play that commercial for the moment being and filibuster here? So, apparently there was an impersonator. Can you guys hear that? I don't know why the muting isn't working on my end.
I'm not hearing it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to wait this out then because it's ridiculous. Here,
if you need me to roll it, I can do that for you.
All right, let's see.
Is live
All right, so let's
about a bogus police officer showing up at Chicago businesses and even homes.
CBS 2 Stephen Graves is live with the extreme lengths this guy went to look like a cop. Stephen?
Yeah, Joe, Erica, Chicago police have given us a brief description of this guy, but there's still a lot of questions. So we went out looking for any video or pictures of him. Have yet to find them, but Chicago police say at this hour, they are still searching for who they call an officer imposter.
So is it, Jerry, I might be picking up on your cynicism just in general. Is it weird that we don't have video or a picture of him?
Isn't it?
I think it's very strange.
What
that
about
there's
all the blue light cameras we have all over the city, though, that never work? The red light ones work.
When
The
I've
speed
been looking
cameras
into this
work.
story,
The cameras.
there aren't quotes from anybody who experienced it.
Right.
Okay. Like they say that he was approaching people's homes. He went into the shed aquarium and tried to like pretend to be a security guard, and the employees there were all, you know, too wise on and shuffled him out. No quotes from any of the shed aquarium employees, none of these other businesses that allegedly had him come up to him, and there are no camera or pictures. I just thought it seemed a little skeptical personally.
Little hinky.
Are you? Are you?
Hanky.
Let me also add, though, I recall when we watched this piece of shit who lit Joseph Cromelis on fire underneath the Trump Tower. They only had like one camera shot of him. I do think there might also be a strategy, though, that might, well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see, involved in the police not tipping their hand that they have video or pictures, because they might be trying to triangulate and figure out, maybe they do.
Okay.
But they don't want the guy to think that he's off, that they want the guy to feel comfortable that they're not narrowing in on him as we hope they will be. So there's that element to it too. The police are not always going to like show all their cards. That said, I hope that they do have some video, and I hope, like in the case of that jagoff that lit the walking man on fire, they did a week later show that they did have other videos and pictures from other train stations. So it could be a strategy, but you know, I don't discount what you're sharing either.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Not that I actually have any sort of theory about what would be happening or why they would lie.
Well, the question is, why would the police cover up a video if they had it of him? Because obviously that would be very, very helpful in circulating that to see if anybody knew him. But maybe they've got a sense and they don't want to release those videos yet, while the news doesn't know what's going on, and they're, you know, sharing what they know, which is not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other crazy thing is CWB Chicago doesn't even have an article about this story. So
that is odd.
which you think they'd be the first ones.
Very odd. Like I found
Hinky. What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky.
We're getting a lot of use out of that one tonight.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I just thought it was strange because the articles I read had like no information, no quotes from people. That's what kind of like.
Gene's got a good comment.
Or the business don't want people to see how easy it was for this guy to get in and play his game. Okay.
You don't want copycats dressing up like cops running around the city.
I don't know that he was wearing a full uniform, Pat, but they did say that he was flashing a badge and holding a gun.
Whoa.
At the aquarium? What? Why?
I don't know.
Hello, I'm Officer Fake Name, and I would like I'm here to check on your whales.
Well, they said that he did go to one place that actually uniforms officers, like they sell it, and right away they were like, "You're not a police officer. Get the fuck out of here."
No, remember a couple years ago, there was this young kid though that dressed up as a cop because he wanted to be a cop, and actually he was no threat. He wasn't any danger aside from the fact he was impersonating an officer. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just plain pretend.
Yes,
okay.
I'm here to check on your whales. It's a whaleness check. A whaleness check. Is this thing on?
You are
everybody in the whole jail block. Who's the security jail has arrived.
Oh, okay, it's over. All right. Let's see. The guy sounds like he has mental health issues, says Gene. Yeah, well, a 5-year-old has a badge and a gun. Yeah, that I didn't really whittle that down, did I? You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
You know, Kira, we forgot to use this.
I look at this town, and I don't like what I see anymore.
Although actually, it's Fake Cop Watch.
So that's that's not in our main drop-in area. So that got shifted to one of the other tabs. we have too many video clips. It's
guys-
hard to jump around.
You guys should check out Cop Rock if you haven't checked out Cop Rock.
Oh,
yet.
I remember that show. You're talking about the police musical from the Stephen Bochco, who did Hill Street
Merchant.
Blues.
There's a song about a baby merchant. It says,
Oh, wow.
Todd Saras will give you all the service and no damn fuss. I'm your baby merchant. Yeah, something like that. It is incredible. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen Cop Rock. Let's get on with this story. Okay, here we go.
May as well.
He visits neighborhoods and businesses. Armed with a gun, he flashes a badge to try
That's
and get
not
into
me.
places, all as he's also dressed in a Chicago police officer or sergeant
Is that me?
uniform.
He is
But a
in the
new alert
uniform.
from the
Okay.
Chicago Police Department says he is a fake, and they want him caught after, in at least 3 instances, someone noticed something odd. The latest, yesterday morning, was off Roosevelt Road at this uniform store near UIC. It's where real officers get their clothing. Workers at the store did not want.
I've actually
Likely
shopped.
They have the guy
Can you stop
who's
it for a
believed
moment?
to be in his 40s and
Yep.
Many years ago, when I was a huge Backdraft junkie, that movie Backdraft.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to this store to buy Chicago Fire Department blue T-shirts to look like my favorite characters in that movie. So it's very easy to walk in this store and buy stuff. I recall myself.
Yeah, I mean, he must have been doing a piss poor job though, because apparently they told him to leave.
Well, I guess depending on what you're buying, it might be easier to buy a Chicago Fire Department T-shirt. Although maybe that was a long time ago, so maybe they are a little bit stricter about who they sell stuff to now.
Now, Hoptocopter says that they shop there too. Okay. All right, here we go.
at least 5 feet tall on tape.
No, and the description is, you guys, at least 5 feet tall. He's at least 5 feet tall. It's not that big of a bar. It's not like you cut down. Like,
Are they sure it wasn't Lori Lightfoot dressed up like a guy? Did they say if this was a person of color or a white guy? Or
they said he was a black guy.
maybe it was Lori who was moonlighting to just
40, like he's 40 to 45 years old. I think he's like 250 pounds or
Oh,
so.
okay. Well, then that definitely.
He's a stout, short guy. Here we go.
All around the store. Before this, the evening of September 1st, police say he went to the Shed Aquarium in downtown. Workers here tell CBS 2 he actually showed up in plain clothes in this case, going on to say the imposter went on a loading dock, flashing a badge. He claimed to be undercover security, but could not dupe the workers and ended up leaving.
Checking
Police
on the
say on
whales.
August 29th, his first sighting, someone in a
I am
neighborhood
doing
was
a
on
wellness
alert. It was
check.
clear on what today was a quiet South Wallace Street in Roseland. Some people on the block, also not wanting to go on camera, were just made aware today, saying they don't see many people at the house police claim the imposter visited. Everyone's question, what is the potential motive for all of this? And we just checked in. Chicago police say they have no updates that are after putting out that alert. Now, they do want people in these areas to be super alert.
Kira, pause it for a second if you can. Okay, they know they have pictures. They want people to be alert to help give them more information. My read on this is they've got an idea who he is, but they want to spread the word. Watch out for this guy because they don't know if he's dangerous or not. Hopefully, they'll get some more tips. But there's got to be pictures or some kind of surveillance footage out there.
I can't imagine. I got to get my charger, guys, because I did not prepare for that point.
That's
point
okay.
of the
We
show.
can riff.
But yeah, I that was my first thing. I was like, no pictures, no video, no interviews, no nothing. At least 5 feet tall. I don't know. Seems a little hinky.
Seems a little hinky.
Yeah, and what was it that they found that tipped them off that he might not be a real officer? Well, first off, we noticed that he was de-escalating situations. That's not the normal behavior of a Chicago police officer. And then next, he was trying to be helpful. He wasn't hassling us. He didn't try to turn something into something it wasn't. He had 0 donuts on his person.
What's wrong with him?
It just didn't seem normal.
It's not normal. There's nothing normal about it. So be on the lookout, everybody, for someone who's at least 5 feet, 40 to 45 years old, guy, black, larger, 250 pounds.
Yeah, what was his motive there? I mean, just to see if he could get into places.
I don't know.
Maybe the Tyler Durden thing.
Yeah, that could be related to casing places. Although the incident of him going through that neighborhood, it's some random guy wandering around seeing if he can get away with stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very, very curious.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are just mentioning like mental health issues and stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
So.
I think that might be related.
All right. So the next story, because I was gonna do the Exodus last. So the next story.
Wait a minute. You're talking about the older people, more older people leaving City Hall?
Mm-hmm. Did you not hear?
It's like Groundhog Day. I mean, we've only reported on this story now, I think, at least 3 or 4 times.
It's bonkers.
It keeps going over and over and over again. It's like, well, we just did that.
That's a little tease for the final story. But first, I wanted to chat about this Atlas Arteria, which is an Australian toll road company that is buying a 67% stake in the Chicago Skyway from 2 Canadian pension funds for $2 billion. So just a little exchanging of money, basically, between 2 massive corporations, or shareholders rather. The deal announced Tuesday would give the publicly traded firm majority control of this 0.8-mile elevated toll road connecting the Dan Ryan Expressway to the Indiana Toll Road on Chicago's South Side, pending approval from regulators and the city. Canada Pension Plan Investment Board and OMERS Infrastructure, which each bought 1/3 stakes in the Skyway 6 years ago, agreed to the sale on Monday. And Atlas Arteria, which owns toll roads in France, Germany, and Virginia, will partner with Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, which is retaining its 1/3 stake. Built by the city in 1958, the 6-lane Chicago Skyway features a steel bridge spanning the Calumet River and a congestion-easing shortcut to Indiana and points east. The city.
I love that stretch of road, specifically because as you look at this picture and as you go over that bridge, you feel like you've entered a time machine into the past. You say, Kira? I've literally driven down there to show people and driven over that bridge because you see all the old steel mills, you see the city. There's just something so nostalgic and, I don't know, magical about it.
Every time, and I don't go over that bridge that toll road very often, but I also love it very much. I think it's amazing to look at.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 6-lane Chicago Skyway features steel bridge spanning the Calumet River, congestion easing shortcut to Indiana, blah, blah, blah. The city operated the Skyway until 2005, operations to a private company on a 99-year agreement. What is the deal with the 99-year agreements? Like, that was also what the metered companies. I mean, if anybody in the chat has any insight.
I thought the meters was 75.
Was it 75? Okay, for some reason I thought it was 99. You're right, Ed. It is 75.
But I think other deals have been on the 99-year scale. I just can't.
Yeah, I can't remember which ones, but I feel like there's something we just talked about that was under a 99-year. And I could be conflating the two, the meter parking and then 99-year agreement. But anyway, it's a long ass time. Marking the first. And actually, this is what I thought was really wild.
Okay, all right.
What was it, Ed?
The Obama Foundation for his library.
Okay, that's what it was.
They got a 99-year lease on the land for his presidential center. Yeah,
such a long time. Anyway, so the city operated the Skyway until 2005, and actually, when it leased the operations to this private company, it was the first privatization of an existing toll road in the U.S. I had no idea. That's wild.
And nothing, and all these toll roads that were supposed to like take the money to pay for the roads and then shut down are still up everywhere.
I know, dude.
I wonder what they make each day at every toll plaza, how much they're raking in each day. I mean, there used to be stories reported regarding the corruption and, well, not just the corruption, they were like toll road employees stealing money, skimming. They were skimming.
Oh, skimming from the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Skyway generated $114.3 million in toll revenue in 2021.
I bet those are cooked books though, too.
Because that seems really low to me. Yeah. Like that was my very first reaction was like, that's low. That's not enough money, honestly. Yeah. Especially to buy it for $2 billion, which seems like an interesting choice. So, but listen to this. IFM Investors, an Australian investment firm that owns 15% stake in Atlas Arteria, who just bought the 67% stake of the Skyway. They oppose this acquisition since becoming the company's larger shareholder in June. And in a letter that they sent on Monday to Atlas Chair Debbie Gooden, IFM called the Skyway purchase highly dilutive to distributions, value destructive, urging the company to withdraw from the Chicago toll road acquisition process and warning of an accelerated board transition if they moved forward. So they're not fucking around. The investment firm issued a statement Tuesday following the announcement that Atlas had agreed to purchase the Skyway over its objections. So they did it in the face of their largest stakeholders. The Skyway money loser for decades after it opened to traffic in 1959 and began generating in the early 90s when the convenience trumped the cost for a growing number of motorists. And the toll road traffic dramatically also increased. The city began exploring a Skyway sale to private operators in 2002. And then, as we know, 2005 was when it was purchased by Skyway Concession. Is that the name of the? Yeah. And so the latest ownership change is expected to generate for the city roughly $25 million for the Chicago taxpayers. This acquisition is going to pay us that much. But the mayor's office hasn't said how the money would be used yet. Only that the latest a win for the city, generating tax payment in the tens of millions of dollars, which actually Alderman Brendan Riley, 42nd Ward, disagrees with. And, he says that the city has a poor track record on public asset sales. He says the political short-term gain realized by a large asset sale gives administrations more budgetary breathing room. But in exchange for that short-term gain, taxpayers typically lose badly over the course of these deals. These assets appreciate in value, some faster than others. Chicago seems to make a habit of undervaluing its infrastructure.
Yeah, because people are getting paid off to parcel it out to all their cronies.
Yep, totally. Yep. So there you have it. That's that. What do you guys think? I mean, it's interesting. There's not really much to necessarily do about it other than to know about it, follow where the $25 million goes, and then see how much we as Chicagoans actually end up losing, over the next few decades, because that's all we can really do.
At which point,
Collect your torches and go!
although I'd say we need that now, but
yeah, and Cactus Man also says you should passage. Yeah, I mean we built it.
Yeah.
The taxpayers built it. So,
why are the toll roads so ill kept when they're so expensive to use? Good point.
So that is what's going on over there with our Skyway. I thought it was a really interesting story. We'll keep an eye on it. And then lastly, I would like to head on over, if nobody has anything more to share in regard to that story, we'll talk about the next exiting alderman. So I'm going to actually have to personally sorry because I did not have time to prepare this, because this came in like, I don't know, right before the show, and I was like, oh yeah, my commentary was Jesus fucking Christ. That was it. That's all I said. And there's my commentary, you guys. Have a good night. So,
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. So, and I love the title. Another One Bites the Dust. Yeah, like what little drop in do we have just having people like falling off of things? Like that is what's
let's
happening
see.
here.
Yeah.
I like that. The Bailing Bunch. Pretty witty, my friend.
There's the newest one.
That
Perfect.
works.
That works. That actually works really well. All right. So I'm just going to read straight from the article. So another week, another member of the Chicago City Council who's tired of this and not running for re-election. Former Public Safety Committee Chair Alderman Ariel Raboyras of the 30th Ward, one of the police union's staunchest supporters, is the 8th council member to choose retirement over a difficult re-election campaign. And also, what is that, the 13th or the 14th? Or that means the 15th.
I think 15, yeah.
The 15th of the council's 50 members elected in 2019 already have left or announced they are going to be departing. Raboyras will serve the remainder of his term and call it a career after 20 years as alderperson and 44 years in city. I'd call that a career. Why now? Why not?
Why? Because everybody else is jumping ship. What the hell's happening? Is it that it's the grift is too hard now? Do they know something we don't know?
Jerry, it's got to be a combination of things. First off, the lockdown made a lot of people reevaluate their lives.
That's true.
Even aldermen, and they dealt with the difficulties of the demic, and some of them, want to take care of their older family members or whatever. They want to spend more time with family. They want to do things that don't involve the platitude machine that the Chicago City Council is.
Pat, you're funny. Yeah, I also, Ed, I agree. I think that it does have a lot to do with the fatigue from the pandemic. We see this happening in these public service sectors, right? The teachers. Nurses aren't necessarily public service, but police as well, right? We have a huge police shortage right now as well. They're all being overworked, and now all of these older people are dropping like flies. I'm just guessing it got a little hot in the kitchen, and I think that people are like, "Fuck this, I'm out." Right? I'm a person that's like been approached about running for a public office, and
really,
I was just like, no, I would never do that to myself. I would never do that
Your
to
family.
my family.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in legislating. That sounds boring as fuck. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I think it sounds like a stressful job personally, and anybody that to the gig thinking that it might be fun, either like thinks that they're going to make a lot of money right up front or something, because that sounds like a lot of fun, but like the job itself, that enchanting.
Yeah, as much as we talk about politics here and are involved in at least trying to affect some change in civic action, I'm too distracted by the other things I love doing that would prevent me from actually, pursuing something. Because I've had people say, you're so politically engaged, why don't you run for alderman or something? Just like, because I want to make movies and I want to do other things.
You're like, but I like my life.
Yeah, but you like to think that there are some that are better equipped for it, and there are a small handful, while the rest are just crawled out of a swamp in a cesspool, like Burger King, and anybody from the Daily Clan. Yeah, but I understand. It's like you want to think that maybe you can affect more change that way, but it is an absolutely all-encompassing job you've got to commit to 100%.
Yep. And there's not like, I feel like there's not really time. Like you might be like not front facing people and you know, whatever, but you know, then an insane rainstorm happens on Sunday and your whole street gets flooded. And then your residents' basements are a shitstorm. And you know, and then you're out looking at shit water all day. Like it's just, that's not a job I want. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, he said, Raboira said, I'm tired of this. I have no ill feelings about anybody in city government, the mayor or anybody. It's just the right time for me. Said he's been maxed out on his pension and either working for nothing or paying to come to work for at least 3 terms. I'm not really sure what that means. I enjoyed helping people, helping constituents, but city council has changed. We don't have any committee meetings. Everything's via Zoom. No in-person committee meetings. The only thing we have is council meetings. I just thought it was a good time to let a younger person take over with bright ideas. I think that's respectable.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, 44 years in public office.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can't expect him to be that.
This one makes sense. This exodus.
Yeah.
We have a lot of work in front of us, you guys, to talk about all of these races that are inevitably going to happen in 15.
Creeping up slowly. No, quickly, actually. Quickly.
Minimum 15 different wards is what we're going to be dealing with.
That's just the 15 where we know where they're leaving. But the
exactly.
Most of those wards are up for grabs, I think.
Yeah, and when we were talking 2 weeks ago, we talked about how most years there's anywhere from like 4 to 6 people who are either announcing retirement or for some reason aren't running again. And then there's usually a turnover about 15 or 16, right? So now it's 3 times that. So if that follows suit, we'll have basically an entirely new city council.
Which I think is good.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I mean, look, this is a great opportunity for hopefully more forward-thinking candidates to jump in where they wouldn't have had a chance before because you've got the incumbents who've got a whole lot of money to just keep buying their way back in if they haven't already been indicted and thrown in jail.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, the local races, they definitely very much mimic the more national races. That if you are an incumbent and you have that level of name recognition, your chances of winning are in the 80th percentile. So it is nice that there are going to be so many races available for anybody, and like anybody is a contender in these 15 wards because they're not dealing with a name recognition situation. So opportunity, guys. This is and I think it's going to make it a very exciting election and make for hopefully a very exciting future of Chicago. Anything more for you guys on that?
No, that's interesting. I mean, it's just, you know, like I said, it's Groundhog Day. We're reliving every week with somebody else bailing.
I at a certain point, I was like, certainly nobody else is going to drop out, right? And I was really wrong. So,
and I'm sure there's more to come.
Yeah, well, now I'm starting to think that way because I was already so wrong.
Yeah, we have Daniel was asking me about where do we get voter information about like who's running and stuff, and I was like, well, there's a couple places, and you guys probably should know this too. Ballotpedia.org is one. Another one which is good is vote411.org, and cool. you go there and you put in your state and then it asks you know like what all the other information to figure out where you're located, and then it'll give you a list of the candidates. It'll tell you what the ballot measures are. It's a pretty good site.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that, Ed. And I'm reading the conversation between Hopticopter about Republican mayoral win. Yeah, that will not be happening. As
not in Chicago.
Not in Chicago. A Republican winning a mayoral race, that would be not a thing. And then Hopticopter says there are stranger things happening, which I can also agree with. So yeah. Yep. That's probably not going to happen here. All right. So I just had one other quick announcement. I think that I mislabeled announcements and updates. No, I didn't. An announcement for if you want to be taking any kind of action in the near future. This landed in our Slack box. Let me see if I can. I have one of you posted it. I think it was Ed. I was like, oh, yeah,
Was it
I'll
me?
announce this. Yeah, no, Ed.
I pass them on when I see them.
All right. So this Wednesday, we're joining along.
Oh, that one.
Demanding immediate action from CTA to address the continued deterioration of bus and train service. We'll be meeting at 8:30 a.m. in front of CTA headquarters.
Which day is it? Oh, that's the 14th. That's tomorrow.
Yep, it's tomorrow. Commuters Take Action presents the I'm Late protest. So, if you're a commuter and you see this, right, definitely take notice if they're handing anything out or they want to give you information, which is usually it's either for attention or to hand out information. And since this is an 8:30 to 9:30 thing, obviously they're trying to hit a rush hour situation. So if you are a commuter, you might see these folks out and about. If you want to get down there and take action and see what they're up to, go ahead and join them.
Yes, I support this action. I mean, I think anyone in Chicago who has to deal with public transit right now, especially if you're taking buses, you go and you log on to CTA Bus Tracker, and it tells you a bus is coming, and there's no bus coming.
No,
They call them ghost buses because for some reason they keep them on the schedule, but the bus never arrives.
But they never come.
I know that Lainey's been dealing with that when she was trying to get down to the studio with public transportation. And it's like
I used to walk miles. I used to walk miles because I can't stand at a bus stop just chilling. Nope, that's not who I am. So I just start hoofing it, and then I check the bus tracker, and I'm like, 6 minutes, I can make it to the next stop. And there have been I don't know how many times I've just gotten to my destination by walking.
Hop to Copper had a good comment. I feel that most Chicago players are Republicans at the dinner table. They feign Democrat to satisfy their monetary needs. Yeah, you're right. That's what they're Republicans in Democratic clothing. Although, both parties really aren't that different at all now.
Yeah, at this point, no.
No, at this point, it's just they're just wearing a red flag or a blue flag, but really their flag is money. It's the green one.
It was funny. I was actually in a conversation with someone that I do a little bit of organizing with, and I was talking about he wants to take action inside of universities and stuff, and I was talking to him about university is a good place to go because I feel like a lot of kids in universities who are not politically active are usually just doing whatever it is their parents do. And I talked about an incident where one of the women in my sorority, who was 3 years younger than me, I was a senior, maybe she was a sophomore or freshman, who had asked me what's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat? And back in 2003, 2004, when I answered that question, I answered well, the Republicans, they want
conservative, liberal,
hands off. They don't want to. They don't want to regulate. They want less taxes. Whereas the Democrats, are the party that want to make sure that everybody is taken care of, social safety nets, blah blah blah. And then it was funny because when I was telling this story today, I was like, yeah, that was my answer back then, and that would not be my answer today.
My answer today is it's basically a shit or a shit sandwich. You'll choke on both.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only difference is that one has more socially conscious rhetoric.
Right.
They basically behave the same way.
I'll also say this too. At least a Republican will stab you in the front. The Democrat will stab you in the back and pretend that they're not stabbing you. At least the Republicans are they own how nasty and evil they are, while the Democrats just pretend they're here to help you when they're doing the same shit.
Yeah, and the Republicans are definitely stepping into it more boldly.
Yeah, the other one is that they both stab you in the back, but the Democrats will pull it out about 1 inch.
or my other metaphor, it's like going into an alley. A Republican will pour gasoline all over you and set you on fire. A Democrat will just beat you up and leave you bloody on the ground. One is worse than the other, but they're both really bad things.
Yeah, they're both things you don't want to have happen. Exactly.
And they're doing it together, and you're probably getting both happening simultaneously.
Yeah. Well, one happens first, and then the other happens, and then they're like, "Look how bad it got," or "Look how much better it got." So that's always the conversation. It's still just a shit sandwich. So there you have it. And that's all she wrote, folks.
Is this Kira's bedtime? I'm ready to guide us out whenever you're ready to dismiss us.
We are. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I'm amazed that we got through all the stories and all of the information I brought for the stories. Yay!
You're out early.
No, I know. Now I get to go smoke weed. So
I'm gonna go have some dinner.
I'm gonna go do. I had dinner right beforehand, but I'll probably have seconds after this because I'm gonna go smoke weed. With that, thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Ed. Jerry, Ed, where can people see you next? Oh, come on back. Where can people see you next?
Well, Friday's show.
Yeah, we'll be back Friday.
Yeah,
Friday
we'll
talk.
be back
Yay.
Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
Things are happening at the studio, so I'm not sure when we will be. I'm not sure how we're going to be doing our streams for Hardlands Media yet. I know that there were some changes there, but you'll see us all rotating there with Kit co-hosting. We had a good time today in the last studio remote, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, we ain't going anywhere.
We're not going
we're still here.
nowhere. All right, good. Yeah, same time, same place, just on Friday.
Yeah.
Come on back and see us. I will not be here. I will be having my family night that night. But I do want to do a shameless
We'll miss
plug.
you.
Yeah, I know. And I'm always like, the Friday show always seems so fun because I listen to it over the weekend.
Nice.
And it does seem like a lot of fun. I'm always like, I would have a lot of fun on that show, but alas,
family time.
the family has to happen eventually, like at some point. And I'm just going to do a quick shameless plug since I have time. So the site that you're about to see is not the new website, so it's still coming.
Awesome.
But we are doing a total revamp of
You
our
teased
website.
this. You teased this last week. I think.
Yeah. So next week begins our big relaunch celebration from the 19th through the 25th.
Nice.
So what my company, Comfy Fitness, does is we help people who are struggling with movement, and that can be in any way, like if you're not motivated to move, if there's pain in your movement, if you just are out of touch or dissociated from your body, we help people become more embodied, more in touch with their body, release themselves from pain, discomfort, low energy, and all of the things that come with a bunch of stress. So next week, all of our classes are free, and all you have to do is go to comfyfitness.com and click on the events tab right here. Oh man, I think that, good. Wix doesn't let me move around when I'm on Zoom and show my website off. So I have to open all the pages. And then I was like, fuck, I forgot. But no,
StreamYard's much easier.
StreamYard does. Yes. So this is on Thursday. I actually, before it even kicks off, I am teaching a workshop on healthy habits without the struggle, where I help people find life hacks for health. But then, down, these are our launch. Is Embodied Blast, which is fitness and strength, clinical somatics, which is releasing muscle tension that's being subconsciously held in your body, and it also releases pain. This is one of the best pain release classes you can take. We have a strong and centered class, which is somatics and strength together. We have a qigong and meditation. We have tremoring, which is a nervous system modality that you actually put your body into a tremor, release tension. And then we have a conscious core, which is a deep, very conscious core strengthening class and releasing class. We have an embodiment round discussion coming up. And then restorative yoga, our big queer yoga with Alexis. And then I teach an introduction to clinical somatics on Saturday morning. Definitely check that out if you're available. And just check out all of Full Body Awakening as an intuitive dance class for anybody who likes to just move their body freely. And then we're doing TRE meets Source Point Therapy. So there is a boatload. You can also check us out on social media. And when you comment and share, you get entered for raffle prizes. And we have a slew of amazing wellness prizes. including a spot into my workshop called Comfy Lifestyle, where I help people just create healthy habits for a lifetime. So that's my shameless plug, everybody. So you're welcome.
Remember to check the live chat before we tune out, Kira.
Oh yeah. Oh,
The
boy.
private chat. I mean the private chat.
Oh, the private chat. Oh
Yeah.
boy. Okay.
So pleasure to be here.
All right. All right. Awesome, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you guys next Tuesday. I'll be in the middle of my launch week, so we'll see how I'm doing. And I can't wait to see you then. Peace.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.